guys, it's Michelle Pippin with Women Who Wow, and you are here for another episode of the Women Entrepreneur Success Show. Today, I'm going to start out talking a little bit about why business failure, when I see a shuttered business, when I hear somebody who's given up on their business, why this actually breaks my heart, right? It might not be the reason you think. And then we're going to get into 7 habits that are guaranteed to create success. And these are the 7 habits that you will not create success without. So I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. I do want to thank our many sponsors who have been contributing to gift bags and gift boxes that are worth well over $300, and you can win one today. So I'm excited to tell you more about that as we go. Because I believe in making sure that the people who need to see this are going to see this. I want to make sure that I share this so that the people who need to see it get to see it. So let me go ahead and share this. All right. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this. All right, guys, so let's talk really quickly about business failure, right? So a lot of times we don't like to talk about business failure, right? It feels like all of a sudden I'm taking a turn into negative town. All of a sudden people are like getting worked up and thinking like, just because you, fail doesn't mean you're a failure. And I'm not saying any of that at all. I'm just saying that when I see a business that shutters its doors, when I hear from a woman who said, you know what, not going to go for it anymore. When I hear a woman who's gone back to taking a JOB or has decided, I'm not even going to try to quit my job. Like when I hear of people like that, it does break my heart. And it's not because the money wasn't made, right? That is not the case for me. I am not, it doesn't break my heart because you didn't reach your money goals. It is a little bit about the time that you put towards a goal that didn't come to fruition. It is now being buried in the backyard. But the truth is, the reason that business failure breaks my heart, where I literally have a pang of angst when I pass a restaurant, which is not unusual, right? These days, where it's closed and not opening, and I hear about, X number of percentage of restaurants or whatever aren't opening. The reason it breaks my heart is because of the years and the heart and the life that I know goes in to making a business a reality, right? Like I know what goes into that. It's the heart and the soul and the hopes and the dreams that I grieve when businesses do not succeed. And let me just lay this out here because I don't think a lot of women entrepreneurs do. Succeeding depends on you financially succeeding. It depends on you making money, right? Like, a lot of times business, people say they fail for X number of reasons, but the truth is you keep businesses open generally that make money. And so it's important as an entrepreneur to realize that even if you're not driven by money, I'm certainly not, and that it is a measure of success. It's the primary measure of success of your business. And unless you are independently wealthy or you've got a very benevolent husband, you're going to have to focus on making money in order to keep your doors open. And it's the heart and soul and the hopes and the dreams that I grieve when a business owner decides to shut up shop, right? It's the dream crashing. It's the self-blame and the self-doubt, right? I've seen it. I've also felt it, right? Like when I have never closed the doors to my business, but I've definitely felt that, in the harder times, right? The self-blame and the self-doubts that get ushered in. It's the plummeting esteem for women when they literally say, I'm walking away from this dream. So I want to talk to you about 7 habits that create financial success in business. And I can never guarantee your success, but I can guarantee you this. You're not going to create financial success without these things, right? Like if you look at any business that is truly successful, meaning they make money, right? They make the money that they want to make and they're living a life that they want to live, then you're going to find these 7 habits. So I'm really excited to do this with you guys and to make this part of the Women Entrepreneur Success Show. If you want a free basket of goodies, there's literally no strings attached. You can just post a comment below and we'll draw somebody a little later on in the week and we will mail your box out to you. So people are getting their boxes they've won from our sponsors and well over $300 worth of stuff in each. It's just an amazing gift from our generous sponsors. So 7 habits for financial success as a woman entrepreneur, as any entrepreneur actually. But the first one is you want to sell what you're passionate about. But it doesn't just end there, right? Like you want to sell what you're passionate about, not just like having a passing passion for it, right? Like you want to have a core convicted passion for what you sell, meaning you want people to get their hands on it, right? Like this is something that even if you didn't sell it, you would still be talking to people about. You should also sell something that your target market, your chosen target market, knows that they need or wants and are willing to pay for, right? So one thing that people often forget, as an aside, is that they choose their target market, right? We all choose our target market. And a lot of times, like I'll never forget when one of my mentors asked me, I was complaining about my list, my email list. So if you're on that email list, no, I was complaining about you too, right? But I had this story that my email list was full of people who were cheapos, right? They were cheap. They never wanted to buy anything. They wanted everything for free, you know? And my coach said, oh, well, who invited all those freebie seekers to your door? And I was like, it was me. Right? It was me, but we often forget that we choose our target market. So choose a market that understands they need what you sell, right? And is cheerfully willing to pay for it, right? A lot of times we have a need or a want, we're just not willing to pay for it, right? So you want to sell what you're passionate about, but also something that intersects with your market's needs and their ability and willingness to pay for it. The second habit is learning how to sell. I am so sick of women entrepreneurs saying, I just don't know how to sell. I'm just not a good salesman. I just don't know how to sell. It doesn't come naturally to me. And I'm like, well, fix that. Fix it, right? Selling is a teachable skill, which means it can be taught and learned by you, right? We gotta understand, like, there's nothing in selling that can't be taught and learned. People make tens of millions of dollars a year just selling this stuff. So make it your habit to learn how to sell, get better at selling, right? A lot of times people want to avoid selling so much that all they want to do is buy new leads. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not even closing the leads you have. You need to learn how to sell. Then once we get a fire going with the selling, we can pour fuel on it with buying ads or something. But for God's sakes, we don't want to avoid learning how to sell, because as entrepreneurs, it's the only way we get paid. People forget that. They think if they get big enough or famous enough or their brand is this or that enough, then all of a sudden the money's going to pour in. Woman, you need to learn how to sell, right? There's no shortcut to that. And there's no excuse. You can learn it. It's teachable. It's learnable by you. And it should be an ongoing thing. I am constantly learning how to sell. I love selling. And I'm constantly, I'm fascinated by it. I'm always honing my skills selling, right? It's what my income depends on. So that's the second habit. Learn how to sell. No more excuses. No more, I'm not really good at selling. Get good. Get good at selling, right? Otherwise, you're going to be one of those people that break our hearts and shut down the business. The third habit is position yourself and your product deliberately. People give zero thought to this, right? If they do, sometimes they err in the worst way, which is you're going to position as the cheapest option when you're starting out, or the free option when you're starting out. Side note, guys, there is no harder sell to make than going from free to fee. Once people get it for free, they don't want to pay for that anymore, right? It's just a thing, right? It's just a mental thing. So when you are positioning yourself and your product, position yourself deliberately, right? Make sure that you are aligned with the value that you're providing. The truth is there's a market for the Yugo, there's a market for the BMW, there's a market for the Mercedes, right? Different markets, all different price points, matters not. But you've got to decide where you're going to be, and I can tell you there is no value in being second cheapest. You're not going to win that battle. It's bloody. It's bloody at the bottom. Raise up a little bit more. Be deliberate about your positioning. Who are you to the market? Are you just a cheap option, or are you a preferred option? Obviously for me, I want you to be a preferred option. You can choose your pricing. You'll become more in demand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the third habit is position yourself and your product deliberately. The fourth habit is make it a habit to build roads to your door. One of those surprising things I learned about farmers is that they spend about 80% of the time mending fences, right? So a lot of farmers, you think they're on the tractor all the time. They're really mending fences to keep their livestock in, right? And I've heard that analogy used a lot with entrepreneurs, but the truth is you want to spend time every single day cutting down inroads to your door, right? Making sure that I always view it like my business is kind of in the middle of the woods, right? Like think Hansel and Gretel thick woods. And that's how it is, right? You start a business and nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows who you are, you know? And so like I make it my habit, my habitual weekly habit of figuring out where I'm going to show up outside of the woods and carve an inroad to where they can find women who wow, right? I call it other people's people, right? Or other people's stages and pages. I get on there and I want people to know that Women Who Wow is this way, right? I'm going to build as many roads to my door as possible. Otherwise, how can people find you? So you're going to make sure that you are deliberate about going outside of your circle, right? A lot of times we start with going within our circle, and then it gets a little bit bigger, and then we kind of stop there. And we're like, why is our business not growing? Why does it feel so hard? I feel like I'm selling to the same people, blah, 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 blah. Well, get on other people's stages and pages. Go outside of your little forest and start carving roads that can be seen from other main roads, right? And get those people in here. The fifth habit is make sure the fuel that you choose to grow your business and run your business fuels you, right? So I'm a writer. It's what I do. So what fuels my business? Content, right? Maybe you're a video producer. Maybe you like video. Maybe you like audio, like what you're a podcast or whatever. But once you decide on what is going to fuel your business, meaning what's going to get it into other people's faces, how is it going to get the name out there? How are you going to be found? Make sure that whatever fuels your business growth also fuels you. If you choose a fuel that you hate. So as an example, if you said, fine, Michelle, I'll do content marketing, but I hate writing, but writing is going to be my fuel, how consistent are you going to be with that, getting that fuel refilled, right? You're going to be dreading it. It's going to procrastinate on it, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that the fuel you choose to grow your business, and anything can work. Any fuel can work. Paid ads can work. Podcasting work, YouTube channels can work, blogging can still work, writing books can still work. You know, all of these things working together still works. But make sure that the fuel you chooses fuels you as well as your business grows. When that happens, you don't get depleted, right? I don't feel depleted by doing business because the very business activities I do actually fuel me as a person. Sixth habit, measure results. The days that you most don't want to step on the scale are obviously the days your butt needs to be on the scale, right? Like this is the way it works. And so the days that you don't want to check on your investments or in your bank account, those are the days you most need to pull the Band-Aid off and look, right? There's a reason we don't want to measure when we don't want to measure. But what you measure gets better. What you measure actually grows. What you measure always gets better. Why? Because your intention is on it, right? On the days that I didn't want to weigh myself, if I had weighed myself, I would have adjusted some stuff that next week, right? So you want to make sure you're measuring regularly. Measure things like leads that are coming into your business. How many inquiries do you have that you can turn into possible sales conversations? How many sales conversations do you have? How many new people come into your email list? How many people are messaging you on Facebook? How many people are buying? What is your weekly income? These are things you need to measure. If you want it to get better, measure it, right? Measure it. And the seventh habit is to develop Teflon-like focus and tenacity, right? So you think about Teflon in like pots and pans that you cook on, right? And the key is like nothing sticks to them. Nothing sticks to them, right? The truth is you don't want success to stick and you don't want failure to stick. The reason you don't want success to stick is we can fall into some pretty lazy habits, right? We can start to not do the things that brought us to success and wonder why we have a feast or famine thing going on, right? You want a Teflon-like focus and tenacity. You want to make sure that you are constantly going towards the goal, through the goal, that you are being in complete alignment with your soul's purpose, right? That you are focused and tenacious, and that anything that comes against your focus and tenacity, it lasts like Teflon. It just slides right off. And the bonus one, I want to say, Elizabeth says, number 4 is the one I need to work on. I have some paths that started cutting through the woods, but not wide enough to well-traveled roads. I will tell you something my granddad told me, and I have no idea if it's true. No idea if it's true. One time I remember asking him, like, why the roads, I live in the country, so the roads are really winding. And I said, I wonder why they would build roads that were really windy. And he said, all of these roads, now it could be not true. My granddad said a lot of stuff, right? But he said all of these roads used to be old Indian paths. And so they would wind through, and that's how they made the road. I don't know how true that is or not, but here's what I can tell you is that the little paths that still have the little bumps in them that aren't as well defined yet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's okay. Like, they are still making their way to your door. They're still travelable, right? And you can walk with them. Like, when I used to teach less about like leverage income and more about like just getting the money in the door, right? I used to talk about walking with your people, you know, meeting them at the end of the road and walking the trail with them, right? So we can do that as we are now, do that through funnels. We can do that through content. We can do that through personal connection and conversations and stuff like that. So we don't want to poo-poo on our little tiny paths, right? Because they are still travelable, right? They're still there. And so that's a good thing. So, yeah. So how do you balance positioning yourself as expensive and the free things you create, like this show, to drive traffic or content marketing? Okay, awesome. I'll answer that in just a second. So the bonus habit is dream big and do daily, right? Like my mom had this saying about people, and she'd say, you know, they're so spiritually good, or they're so spiritually something, they're no earthly good, or something like that, right? And so it's like sometimes we can dream so big, and I 1,000% support that. Like, a goal, a dream should be big enough to inspire you, to keep you going, to you know, compel you to do that which is unreasonable, to compel you to greatness, to change who you are being in life and in business, and to raise you up, right? Like, that's the goal. That's the purpose of goal, right? Not to be reasonable. That's like, who wants a reasonable goal, right? I'm all about dreaming big, right? Dream big, but we've always got to do daily. Guys, it's not, I'm not like making this up. Like, if I were just trying to sell you, I'd say something different, right? Like, this sucks. Like, but a habit of doing daily, knocking out that which you want daily. When your day's actions align with your ultimate goal, there's no way you will not succeed, right? Think about this in any other goal in your life, any other goal. If your goal is to raise or save X amount of dollars by the end of the year, and you break that down in 365 days, if every day you put in, say, $2, then you're definitely going to meet your goal. The only way to not meet your goal is to not put in that $2 daily. Same thing with like weight loss or whatever. If you break it down into a daily action and you do that daily action, there's no way the goal won't happen. But somehow we get all worked up over business as if it's some mysterious thing that doesn't comply with the laws of the universe. And it's like, we want to dream big, but we also want to make sure that we're doing daily, that the actions we take daily, that the natural, normal, like logical effect of those actions is the goal that we want, right? Like, it doesn't matter that we're in business. For God's sakes, we still live in a world that is cause and effect, right? So if we have a specific effect we want, we need to cause it to happen daily, right? So that's a bonus one. I want to get back to Elizabeth's comment. So how do you balance positioning yourself as expensive and the free things you create? Yeah, so I don't necessarily balance them, I guess, right? I go all out. Like, I produce a ton of free content. So there's a couple ways that I guess justify it. So one, I enjoy creating the content. Two, I have a real heart for women entrepreneurs, and I firmly believe that the number one way to change someone's life is to change the way they make a living. And one of the only ways that women can be fully empowered and fully expressed is through entrepreneurship. Now, you can disagree with me, and that's fine, but that's what I believe. That's what drives me. And so when I am considering the free content, I want to help as many people as possible. And I also, I used to think like, it was like, I used to look at it as proving myself a little bit. Like, I'll produce this content and, you know, then they'll see how good I am, and then they'll want to hire me as a business coach, right? And that real approach really didn't work. What I do now is I put out regular, consistent content to help people, and I make a call to action. So the content, people are never going to pay you for information. Not really. I mean, I sell information products, so understand how that sounds. but there's information out there everywhere. You've got to get them to want the person behind the content, right? You've got to use this free content to drive demand for your voice. If you are, that's why like basic content that can be written by anybody doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's why when, you know, some of these companies that make, like, let's say a political stand, and it was like, oh my God, it's like political suicide, or it's business suicide. And it's like, no, actually, because the people who resonate with that are going out there to buy that jersey or buy those beans or buy whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like people start to prefer the voice. And that is how you balance. It's like, so it's not so much a balance, it's a habit of creating that content because people learn my voice through it. I might say, give them an analogy or say something they've kind of secretly thought and didn't want to say because it's like sacrilegious in the business world or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I get it. Like, I want to hear more from her. So it's not a balance game. It's a service game. It's a habitual commitment to your people, to give them what you have. And as you do that, they will demand for your voice. Now, people don't pay necessarily for information. What they pay is for access to you, right? And that is therein, that's what belies the balance. So for me, producing content has never had to be balanced. However, if I networked, coffee dates couldn't happen, right? Because if I had to, if I'm asking them to pay me for coffee dates, then, you know, it's weird that they could, you know, if I'm asking, let's say if my coaching rates are $500 an hour, but then I could spend 2 hours with them over coffee and letting them pick my brain. Does that make sense? Like, there's no balance in this. It's a commitment, and then it's a paid door. So there's the commitment to the free stuff, and then it's like the invitation, like there's more access. Like within Women Who Wow, people get access to me, right? Like there's actual one-on-one time with me. There's, you know, higher levels of one-on-one time with me. So when, you know, it's the content that creates demand for the voice, and then they letting them know what's on the inside. It's always going to be access. For the coach, expert, consultant, it's always going to be access, not information. So, yeah, awesome. And I hope you do get that shirt. Dream big and do daily. I love it. I love it. I did think of it, but I love it. I would love to see you in that shirt. All right. So, any questions about the 7 habits for financial success for women entrepreneurs? Sell what you're passionate about. Learn to sell. No excuses here. You got to learn to sell and be good at it. Position yourself and your product deliberately. Don't just go in to be a cheap option. Build roads to your door. Make sure the fuel that you choose fuels you. Measure your results. Have Teflon-like focus and tenacity, and dream big and do daily. So those are our 7 habits with the bonus habit there. And I appreciate you guys being here for another episode of the Women Entrepreneur Success Show. Whether you're watching live or watching the replay, put in a comment so that you can be entered to win our great big box of goodies. And tell your friends about the show. We are just getting started, and we have a lot of exciting things coming up. So I would love to have you and your friends here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys. Those dogs, right? Always protecting me.